it would take the PRC years to close the gap when it comes to our capability.
Pioneer Billie Jean King has been honored with her name attached to one of tennis's most prestigious events. Beginning next year, the international competition known as the Fed Cup will be called the Billie Jean King Cup, announced today by the International Tennis Federation, which said this is the first time an annual major global sporting event has been named for a woman. The ITF began the Fed Cup in 1963 when King was part of the American winning team. Still fighting for true equality at age 76, King told the New York Times, "I want this Billie Jean King Cup to represent everyone, not just women." She said, "It really bothers me, and until we change that, you're never going to have a woman president of the United States." She said, "It's the way we think about women. We've got to stop it. Women are leaders for everyone. Men are leaders for everyone." Jared Max, Fox News.
Stocks are tumbling. The Dow's down more than 200 points. The NASDAQ dropping about 2%. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Santa Clarita election coverage, only on KHTS.
This is KHTS News Director Michael Brown. Thank you for joining me once again as we continue our week-long program interviewing all of the city council candidates running in the year 2020. For the first one this morning, joining me is Mr. Ken Dean. Ken, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it. The question that we like to ask every candidate up front is, why are you running for city council?
In 1984, I ran for the California State Assembly. Although I didn't win, I really did very well. At the time, I was the president of the local chapter of the Optimist Club. And I started looking around after the election, and I realized that we had problems with the way things were being done by the county, and I wasn't really happy with it. I remember saying to myself, what we need here is a city. So I started looking around for ways that we could become a city. At one of our Optimist meetings, we had a guest speaker by the name of Connie Warden, who came in and started talking about forming a city formation committee. And I said, I want to be part of this. So I became a member, and ultimately I became a founding father of the city of Santa Clarita. I'd also like to mention that I'm one of the only candidates, I am the only candidate that is, including our incumbents, that is and was part of the city formation committee. We live in a great city. It's not just one area, it's all areas. And just as symbolic, all areas need the same concern. We need more parks. We need more amenities for Canyon Country. We need upgrading of different parts of the city. And this is what I plan to do if I get on the city council.
Gotcha. So you're running because you want to see more parks. And
I want to see more things.
Gotcha.
I'll give you a prime example. You may not remember, but I remember downtown Newhall was really a 1940s look. I mean, it was really the pits. And look at it now. It is so beautiful and so upscale. It's incredible. I'd like to see the same thing happen to Canyon Country and parts of Saugus and Newhall.
Gotcha. So obviously the big thing dominating the 2020 news cycle, and even just our casual conversation here before we started, is the coronavirus pandemic we're experiencing right now. How do you feel the city's approach to it has been, and what would you be doing as a city council member?
Well, first of all, I haven't heard much of what the city is doing, quite frankly. I'm not sure the city council is making enough of a commitment with the business community. More businesses need to reopen their doors, which is something that I would work on. Many business owners I have talked to are not happy with our city council, and their concerns are that they are not being heard. I would see to it that there are safety measures that would keep businesses open. I would see to an ordinance where all businesses, stores, banks, restaurants, etc., would have a sanitizing system that would help keep them open. Of course, I would do everything I could to keep businesses open. It's unfortunately, you're controlled by the county and the state.
Gotcha. So then, because of that county control, state control, would you support something along the lines of what the mayor has proposed in the past couple of weeks, such as a Santa Clarita specific health department, or even maybe just a Santa Clarita health officer?
I absolutely would like to see our own health department and an officer. I think it would make a big difference. It would certainly help the business owners open up and allow us to open restaurants and do things like, for instance, more spacing and working with where our city should be run. And I'm 100% in favor of that, yes.
Gotcha. So we've talked about businesses a little bit here. Another huge impact that the pandemic has had is on our students, not being able to go physically to school. Now, obviously, specifics are left towards school districts, the Hart District, the Sauga School District. But what can the city be doing to support students during this pandemic?
I don't want to sound negative, but I don't see where the city council can really do anything with education other than make meeting rooms open for the school district and for having classes. The fact is, education is in the hands of the school boards and the Board of Education. There are two different governing authorities. I remember when I was a teacher for the Hart School District, and I remember we were having a hard time with the budgets that were given to the teachers. They weren't enough to buy books and supplies. So I went to the city and asked if the city could help the schools with buying books and supplies. And they said, no, the city can't do anything because it's a totally different entity. They have their own governing board and we have ours. So there was nothing they could do at the time.
So, but do you not think that maybe during this unprecedented time of coronavirus and COVID-19 that a little bit more cooperation between the city and school districts is possible at all?
It's worth looking into, yes, and it is possible, absolutely. If they can open up a meeting room or meeting rooms where students can go and spaced and help in that respect, as opposed to the actual on-campus rooms that they have.
Gotcha. So still on public health, but let's move away from the coronavirus pandemic for now. There's been a lot of talk between us and officials with the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station, and they've been letting us know that the opioid epidemic is still raging, and the number of fatal overdoses in Santa Clarita specifically is on the rise, and especially in relation to the substance known as fentanyl. Do you see the city's role, what the city's role would be, in combating this crisis? And what would you do as a city council member to help with this?
I would start by creating a program to meet with our youth and the youth in our city and educate them on the adverse effects of drugs. Many years ago, I was a volunteer with the Sheriff's Department, as a volunteer deputy sheriff. And I remember being on a committee where we would be meeting with high school students. The Sheriff's Department at the time had a display of all the drugs that are out there, what they look like, what the students were able to touch them, what their name was, and the negative effects that these drugs would pay on our person's systems. And I would start a program like this again. I thought it was an excellent program. It was very effective. And it would not just be for the schools, but it would also be for homeowners, associations, places of worship, and organizations like the Optimists. And I think if we did something like that and we educated the students and we showed them pictures, we actually had pictures to show them what it actually does to your system. And I would start a program like that again. I think it was an excellent program. And I don't think the sheriff's does it anymore, but they did it and was very active at the time.
Gotcha. And that's for mainly either people who are younger and haven't got on to drugs yet, or maybe just starting for students. What about people who are already deep into it?
I would say this would be for everybody. If you go to organizations, like I said, places of worship, and that it's not just for students, but it's for all people. And people they could be 50 in their 60s, whoever's stuck on drugs, this could help them.
Gotcha.
And to push something like this, make people realize, this is the road that you're going to go to. You're going to be pulled down to the gutter. And this is the time to try to get off these things and show them what it actually does to you.
Gotcha. I'm understanding now. So moving forward, moving away from COVID, I should say, and moving away from public health overall, a recent survey from the city indicated that traffic is no longer the number one concern for citizens here. Obviously, being the year 2020, the number one concern is the COVID-19 pandemic. With this kind of decrease in public interest in traffic, perception-wise, in terms of this survey, do you think that means traffic is improving in the city? Why or why not?
No, I don't. I don't buy the so-called poll that was conducted by the city that the traffic has gone down by over 20%. I don't buy that at all. The city is one of the reasons why we do have traffic congestion. Traffic is a major problem in the city. I know we have the coronavirus, and that's a major, major thing, but traffic is also. I would focus on the traffic within our city and traffic that feeds into it. There are three ways I would address and correct this issue. First is by doing synchronizing of all our lights throughout the whole city, which would starting all major streets. This would create a steady flow and distribution of traffic and cut down on toxins from vehicles sitting at red lights. Second, I would continue to do restriping on all our city streets for our roads for a better direction of traffic and really of left turn lanes and right turn lanes. And this would be done in all major cities. Finally, I would do and create bus turn-ins and bus turnouts. This would stop bus creating the traffic nightmare by backing up the traffic behind buses for places like Target on McBean, where the bus stops and people cannot, traffic backs up behind the bus and people cannot get in or get out of the parking lot there. The same thing holds true on Soledad by White's Canyon. These buses stop and traffic backs up and people cannot get into these strip malls or L-shaped malls, and people can't really go around the bus because there's too many cars passing by. So that's another thing I would work on. Those are the three things I think would really major difference in the city. I mentioned this once before, that what the city needs to do is they need to do a line item on their proposed budget. Doesn't mean that all bus turn-ins and bus turnouts have to be done at once, but at least start by doing one or two a year. And they may have to do eminent domain to take some of the property, but it all can be done. I've gone around and I looked and I've checked this out, and it would make a major difference in our city.
Gotcha. So we have a very large veteran population here in the city of Santa Clarita. Very patriotic city. Countlessly see a lot of veterans events being held here. Do you feel that the city could be doing anything more for veterans here in Santa Clarita?
Yes, I do. The city needs to do more. I would create more programs for our veterans, such as affordable housing, which is a major thing. I would like to see a facility, much like the senior center, but only just for veterans. A place where they can go and meet with other veterans and socialize. We currently have the Moose Lodge and the Elks, but that's not just for veterans. It's for anybody who wants to go there. One of the things that I think they kind of went in a really wrong direction on is when they spent millions of dollars buying the ice station. This was a place that was in business for years, of course, and it failed, and so I cannot understand why they would buy the same thing and try to get it going in as an ice station. Something like that would have been a great thing for seniors and for our veterans.
Gotcha. So you would almost see that property, and in this example, you would see that property of the ice station used to make this kind of veteran senior center that you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah. You just get rid of the ice and you just do a little remodeling and it could be done.
Gotcha. So we're winding down here, Ken, and we always like to ask this final question for all our candidates. When we hit November 3rd and when voters get to the ballot box, why would they check Ken Dean for their vote?
Because I'm a person's person. I care about the people. I always have, and I always will. I'm a founding father of our city, and I had a vision many, many years ago of a city of the future, and I would continue to work in that direction. I want to upgrade all areas. Like I mentioned before, Canyon Country really needs to be upgraded, and we need to do a lot more there. I mean, it's still the 1940s look. I have been on many city committees for the betterment of our city, the Hillside and Ridgeline Ordinance Committee. I was chairman of something that a lot of people remember, and we defeated it phenomenally at the polls, and that was a Melrose tax. And that's why you see signs today that say, no Melrose, because it was a disgusting tax that was going on, and we defeated it.
Can you explain maybe for listeners who may not know what that is? Could you maybe just explain that for briefly?
The Melrose is by a Senator mellow and a Assemblyman Ruse that passed this and was signed into office by the current governor at the time. And what it is they will add property tax to your that would pay for the infrastructure. In other words, instead of a developer not paying for roads and infrastructure, they pass it off to the homeowners. So now instead of the homeowner paying their property tax, they're paying an extra maybe $1,000 a year for the Melrose. And there was a member of the County Board of Supervisors that joined my organization by the name of Baxter Ward. And I remember one day he looked at me and said, Ken, this is one of the worst pieces of legislation I've ever seen in my life. And so we fought. I was on the front page of the papers, and it went down to a 4-1 defeat. But I remember near Acton, I think it was, Arcadulce, there was a developer who developed all these homes. And the way the Melrose works is it could be a law, go into law by the majority of the voters. Well, this developer was building houses, and there was no homes that were sold, so he was the only person. So he was a majority owner. So he passed this Melrose onto the homeowners, and unsuspectingly, when they bought their houses, they were buying a house that not only were they paying the property tax, but they were paying $1,000 more a year, or a couple thousand a year on this Melrose.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
This has been Ken Dean here in the station. Stay tuned. We got a couple more candidates for you, and we'll be back reporting with KHTS. This is Michael Brown.
Hometown, your hometown station.
We'd like to thank our advertisers and readers for their loyal support since 1991.
Linda